The hottest food trends in the food world will be revealed soon, as the biggest names in culinary and hospitality will gather in Chicago for the Oscars of Food, the James Beard Awards, in 2 weeks on May 4th. This is the 25th anniversary of the prestigious award, and the first time the awards will be held in Chicago, which I'm really excited about. Kendall College Vice President of Culinary Arts and host of TV show Let's Dish, Chef Chris Koetke, is joining us today to dish up what we can expect. He'll also highlight some of the trends from this year's group of nominees. So, Chef Koetke, what are you looking forward to at this year's James Beard Award?
Well, this is a really exciting time for us. It's an exciting year for us because, the James Beard Awards are coming to Chicago for the first time. It is the 25th anniversary, as you mentioned. And what does that mean for us in Chicago? I mean, that means that we have great chefs from all over the country who will be descending on our city, who will be eating our food and exploring our restaurants. It's a great time for what's happening here. And for us at Kendall, being the #1 culinary and hospitality school here in Chicago, that means that we are really proud to share in this moment. It's great for our students. They're going to have exposure to this whole process and to what's going on in Chicago. And sort of selfishly, we're really happy about the fact that this has been a good year for our graduates. We had 5 graduates who were semifinalists and 2 who are nominees, and we're crossing our fingers that their names come up at the awards ceremony, which would be perfect for us.
That's amazing to have people that are semifinalists and nominees for such a prestigious thing as the James Beard Award. That's awesome. I'm very excited as well to have the awards here in Chicago. It's a huge, huge point of pride for all of us in the food media world, as well as something that makes us feel like really empowered as we share the culinary landscape of Chicago with others. So what trends do you think we can expect at the James Beard Awards this year?
Well, there are, first of all, if you just look at the Rising Star category, there's some big differences this year. I mean, traditionally, you have about 14 or so people who have been, nominated before into the semifinalist category, and that represents about half of them. Well, this year, totally different. This year, there's only 4. And what that means is that we really have a brand new slate of new faces that are up for this prestigious award. And it also means that there's some really great things happening across this country. But the other thing that we do here at Kendall, being about quality education, what we do is we focus on the food world 5 years from now. It's all about looking in that food service crystal ball and saying, what will our world look like in 5 years? So what does that mean? That means we study trends, and we study them very, very seriously. And what we have discovered, this is really interesting, is that we've been watching some big trends, and we've sort of niched them out. And when we looked at the James Beard nominees, we said, let's look at what they're doing on their menus. And what we discovered is that they actually reinforce the trends that we're watching, which of course sort of makes sense because those are the trend-setting chefs. So let me give you the 3 big trends that we've been watching. So #1 is what we call the old is new. And what that means is that stuff that was sort of, had been around before, forgotten, is now back. And it's back in ways that are unusual, that are different, that are unique. So for instance, cider, hard cider, alcoholic cider is back, and it's back with a vengeance. It's really neat stuff going on with that. Or punch, for instance. Now, when I grew up, there were punch bowls on the table. It was sort of some 7-Up or whatever with sherbet. You weren't exactly sure what was in it, and it wasn't so great. But now, totally different. Now we have chefs who have offerings of punch bowls that combine different alcohols, different bitters, different unusual fruit juices for some fascinating combinations. And it's all about this idea of communal eating. The second big trend that we're watching is what we call the sides are now the stars. And what that means is that there were sort of traditional ingredients, preparations that just sort of sat on the sides a little bit, that supported what was going on as the main sort of focus of a plate. And 2 examples. 1, carrots. We've been watching carrots. Now, you might say carrots have been around for a long time, but that's true. They have been, but now they're getting center stage. Things like miso glazed carrots or smoked carrots, carrot fondue, or even carrot desserts like carrot mousses that are sort of glazed with coffee, a coffee glaze on the outside. Really neat stuff. Or the other one that I personally love is what we call charcuterie 2.0. I taught this for years, all that charcuterie stuff. So when I saw charcuterie plates coming back as they have, I was thrilled. But now the next step is that those little side dishes, you know, the mustard, the cornichon sort of stuff, is becoming the center focus of those plates. So you have chefs that are doing interesting preserves, that are pickling just about everything, making their own homemade unique mustards. It's very, very interesting. And the third big trend is ramen. And now ramen's been around for a while. You know, we all sort of grew up with it as instant noodles, inexpensive eats. And a few years ago, we started to see ramen coming back and chefs doing interesting things with it. Now, the trend that we're watching is what we call mega ramen. And so what that means is that ramen is becoming a mega trend. It's going to be with us for a long time. And we see that just reinforced on the menus of these chefs. Chefs who are doing really, really interesting stuff like, you know, combining smoked white cabbage and crispy prawns and scallions in a roasted pork broth. That's actually from a restaurant in Cleveland on the list. Very, very interesting stuff that's going on.
I'm excited about ramen becoming bigger and bolder.
We all love
one
ramen.
Of the things that my child absolutely loves. He likes traditional ramen, and we try and go out in the suburbs of Chicago, actually, for my site, the burbs, and we go out and we kind of find what's hot in ramen in the suburbs. And my son is my biggest food critic in the house. So
that sounds like it could be the title of a book.
That he absolutely loves.
Excellent.
So that's exciting to me that we're going to kind of take ramen to the next level and that it will be around for a long time. I'd love to see more traditional ramen shops pop up around, you know, the city and the suburbs. And we even have things in Chicago now like Ramen Battle. So hopefully it will be around for a very long time as you're predicting. So what are the elements that go into developing the career of a chef that may someday receive a James Beard Award? I think you'd be probably one of the better people to answer this question, considering your good long history with culinary education and with Kendall College.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, we talk about it as 5 ingredients. And the first 3 I talk about constantly with our students, both here and our students internationally. We have campuses all over the world that we work with. And the first 3 are passion, discipline, intensity. You have to have a passion for this business. You have to love this business. The discipline part is, it takes a lot of work to become a chef of the caliber of the James Beard Awards. It takes many, many years and a lot of hard work. And that's something we do, you know, we're very proud of here at Kendall. I mean, our program is disciplined. It's challenging. And so it's passion, discipline. The third is intensity. You have to have intensity because kitchens are intense places. And I guarantee you that everybody on the James Beard Award list, they are all intense people. That's just the way it works. The fourth ingredient is real life. And real life means that, you know, especially for students, they have to have exposure to the pressures of the industry and how it works. And that looks differently. I mean, for instance, here at Kendall, we have 3 restaurants. These are real functioning restaurants that serve in some cases up to 400 people. And what that means is that our students are exposed to the intensity, the stress, the pressures, you know, teamwork, timing, all that stuff you have to be successful in our business. It also looks like internships and where students go to begin their careers in functioning restaurants outside of the school. You know, so for instance, our students here, we make sure they go to some pretty great places, and in fact, more people want our students than we can even supply. And then the last is when you graduate, you've got to go into the best places you can go to really be, you know, exposed to the highest level of food and to learn from some really great people. So real life is pretty critical. Fifth ingredient, internationality. Because we no longer live in this little world where you can just sort of do your thing in one corner of the world and not be impacted by everything else. This is a globally connected world. And for students and for professionals who understand that, what that means is that they will have really the best chances of success For our students here at Kendall, we're really proud that we have 50 to 60 nationalities of students represented here. And so our students get exposure to this concept of internationality, and that people from different parts of the world cook different things, and we use that as sources of inspiration and of learning.
That's amazing. I actually have a friend who attended Kendall College, and he definitely talked about the intensity and the training that he receives there. Have you noticed with your students that there's a trend of people wanting to become entrepreneurs right out of the gate, like food truck owners and small caterers and whatnot? Or do you find that most of your students want to go into working in restaurant kitchens right away?
Well, the food world is enormous, and the possibilities are huge. So what does that mean for our students? It means that when they graduate, they have many, many options to choose from. But I think you're right. There are an increasing number of students who are looking at some of the other options, not just necessarily going to work, in one of these great restaurants, but thinking about things like, as you said, food trucks, huge, or maybe some niche businesses, and they think about, becoming an entrepreneur and owning it. That is definitely on the mind of a lot of our students. We've had students who have graduated and gone out and done a food truck, because the nice thing about that trend is that it doesn't cost a huge amount of money as it does to open up a restaurant. And so it's much more accessible for those who are really entrepreneurial. Yeah, absolutely.
So where should people go if they want to learn more about culinary trends?
The best thing is to go to our website. We have lots of resources there. And very simply, it's just kendall.edu. So KENDALL.edu. And you can learn all about the trends we're watching. And there's more than what I talked about.
Awesome. So, Chef, if you were to be anywhere in the world, besides right here with me, because I'm enjoying this conversation, but if you were to be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be and what would you be doing to enjoy yourself?
Oh, that is such a difficult question, because at Kendall, I spend about a third of my time actually traveling internationally, working with students and chefs all over the world. And so I immediately start thinking of all the different places I go to, and it's so hard to say just one. We have campuses all over Mexico. It's a fascinating country. We have a campus in Istanbul, Turkey. Turkish food is fascinating. Malaysia. Malaysian food is fascinating. I don't know. I think what I would like actually is sort of a plane ticket where I could travel for a month. How's that? I can just visit lots of different places.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. That would be absolutely awesome. I think, what, I'll sign up for that one.
We'll go together. Perfect.
Seriously. So, in your personal experience, what's your takeaway with the changes that are happening in the culinary world? When I say changes, I mean things like the James Beard Awards coming to Chicago and hopefully sticking around for a few more years. But changes like that, things that have been staples in certain places for so long, and now we're seeing massive change in locations and change in thoughts and actions among chefs. So where do you think we're going? I know you talked a little bit about internationality and how you guys teach your students at Kendall, but with the world of social media and food, really going hand in hand now, what kind of changes do you see happening in the future as far as, I guess my question is more like, what kind of location change do you see? I see a lot more of Southern cuisine coming into Chicago in the last few years or so.
Yes.
When I say Southern, I'm talking about a lot of seafood and whatnot coming to the
fried
Chicago
chicken,
landscape.
waffles,
and then I'm also noticing Chicago-style, quote-unquote, food is going west. But do you think in America that we're going to start to see a little bit more of that happening? I'd love, personally, to see a lot of the cuisine from Maryland or Boston kind of come and show up in Chicago, so I don't have to travel there much. But
I think my
it's a lot
response,
cheaper for me to drive to a restaurant.
my response to that would be that, things are changing now as things have always changed. The food service world is far from static. It is changing all the time. And it is a little bit tricky to say, which of the regional American cuisines are going to become sort of hot. Will Maryland food, will crab cakes all of a sudden become, the national darling? I think the thing that's important is that we will continue to change. The country will continue to change, and we will continually have all sorts of different trends coming up. And I'll just sort of wrap up with some of the big trends to keep your eye on. I mean, so what's going to impact us in food service? The big one will be sustainability. That'll be huge, and nutritional concerns will be huge. And with that, we're going to bring in all kinds of other foods that'll from across the country. But thank you very much.